Hello, my name is Carli Spina, and today I'm going to talk about how you can improve video accessibility by going beyond captions. This will be about the role of audio descriptions and transcripts in improving video accessibility. Let's start with 30 seconds of reflection. What are some of the barriers that may prevent equitable access to video content? So there are many potential barriers. Some of the commonly thought about ones are the inability to hear the audio or being in a location where you can't listen to the audio. And these are generally addressed through captions. But it's also possible that viewers may be unable to see the video. They may be unable to load the video either due to poor internet connection or because they don't have that much data, for example, on a mobile plan. They may simply prefer to read a transcript, or they may find that they prefer to be able to search through the content, or it may be some combination of these barriers or even other barriers. And to address these, we want to think about how we can use audio descriptions and transcripts. So what are audio descriptions? Audio description of video provides information about actions, characters, scene changes, on-screen text, and other visual content. It is usually added during existing pauses in dialogue. This is how the U.S. Access Board defines audio descriptions. Let's look at an example of an audio description. In this video, we will hear an audio description.
Meet the Normals, Adventures in Universal Design. Exterior of a house on a sunny day, the Normals are outside.
Meet Harry Normal. Harry is the father of...
So in this clip, you could hear that there are two different voices. The synthesized voice provided a description of what the visual content was. It read the words and it provided a description of the scene. And then the other voice was the narrator. And as you could see, the audio description voice fit in with the pause or actually before the narration started. So how are audio descriptions used? Users who are blind or have low vision can use audio descriptions so that they know what's happening in the visual content in the video, and they can also be used for teaching learners how to parse visual information better. So what are some audio description best practices? Well, first, as mentioned, you want to try to fit descriptions into natural pauses. There is a type of audio description known as extended audio description, where you actually pause the video so you have longer to add video description, but generally it works best if you fit into the natural pauses. Also, sometimes you will want to consider lowering any background noise or sound effects that you're giving audio descriptions over so that they can fit into that pause and still be heard even if there's other background noise. You want to focus on the key visual elements. This isn't about explaining every single visual element. It's about giving context and providing the key visual elements. So things like who is speaking, where is the scene located, and what is being conveyed only visually that's key to the scene or the video. You don't want to add commentary or have a particular tone. You wouldn't want to have, say, sarcastic audio descriptions. They're really meant to be neutral as possible. It's always going to be subjective what you decide to include in the audio description, but you don't want that to be providing commentary. You really want to fade into the background as purely informational. You want to include any text shown on the screen, as in the example that we just heard. So anything that's on the screen that's not already read aloud by the narrator or in the sound audio track, you'll want to include in your audio description. And you want to aim for the same audience as the video. So as an example of this, you would want to have vocabulary, syntax, and tone that's appropriate for the audience. An audio description for a children's television program, for example, would be much different than one for a scholarly presentation. And then you want to watch the video and then start writing, refining, and then describing. You really don't want to do this just doing an off-the-cuff description. It's really a process of writing a script, then editing the script carefully to make sure that it really does hone in on the most important visual elements, and then doing the audio descriptions. A sample workflow for creating audio descriptions is to first evaluate the video for visual content in need of description. Not all videos will have visual content that requires audio descriptions. If audio descriptions are needed, then you want to watch the video all the way through and then start writing a script of descriptions and finalize that script. Only then will you record an audio performance of that script, and that may be done either by the same person who wrote the script, a different voice performer, or even nowadays sometimes people use synthesizing tools, such as the one we heard where it was a mechanical voice reading the script. An optional fourth step is editing descriptions into existing audio tracks. And the reason I say this is an optional step is that it really depends on what you're using to host the videos. Some platforms will allow you to have an extra track for audio descriptions, but others won't, and so you will have to put it into the existing audio track. As an example, currently YouTube, for example, only allows for that one audio track, so you would need to make sure that the audio descriptions were in the main audio track. So let's talk about tools for this process. There aren't really any tools that are going to automate creating an audio description because they really aren't tools that can figure out what the visual content is and generate descriptions at this point. There are tools that can make the process easier, however. One of these is CADET. This is a free tool that you may have heard of before because it's also used for creating captions. And what it does is it does not output an audio track of audio descriptions. Instead, it's going to help you to generate a timed script for creating audio descriptions. And as you can see here, it breaks it up into columns. There are columns for the start time and the end time of pauses in the existing dialogue, for example, or other audio. Then it's going to tell you in this next column the audio cue that comes right before when the description would fit. And then it gives you a box in which you can put the description. So this allows you to time out exactly how long these descriptions take and to generate a script that tells you exactly when they need to fit into the existing audio. Another tool that's really worthwhile to know about for audio description is UDescribe. So many audio tracks on YouTube videos do not have audio descriptions. But UDescribe is a tool that allows you to add descriptions to any existing YouTube video, even if you don't have the rights to it or aren't the person who has editorial privileges for that file. So this is a really great way if you want to use a YouTube video or if you've uploaded videos to YouTube and you want to add audio descriptions this way rather than in YouTube. It's a good tool for that process. So now let's talk about transcripts. What are transcripts? Well, they're text representing both the content of the audio track, such as dialogue and sound effects, as well as descriptions of the important visual elements. This text is displayed separately from the video. Now, sometimes you will see transcripts that are only the audio track, and they don't describe any visual elements. The type of transcripts that are displaying visual elements as text as well are sometimes called described transcripts or descriptive transcripts. Let's see an example. So here you can see how transcripts might appear on a screen. The video is to the left, and to the right we have a set of searchable transcripts. They can be downloaded and they can also be looked at in a more plain view. And they're also interactive. So if someone goes to a particular point and clicks on the transcript, it will take them to that point in the video. So this is an example of a common way of displaying transcripts. You do want to be careful that you make these accessible if you are going to go for one of the interactive options, but this shows sort of how it might look on the screen. How are transcripts used? Well, an important group of users for these are people who are deaf-blind and opt to use Braille inputs for that reason. Captions aren't accessible to a Braille input, generally speaking, because of the way that they're encoded into the video file. So a transcript is able to be represented by the Braille input in a way that captions would not be. Also, though, users may prefer to read the content. Users may not be able to or may not want to download the video, in which case then they can just see the transcripts. And also you have the option to have tools that search through online text, use your transcript file in a way that they usually can't use captions. So that means that if you want to do any sort of text analysis of the content of the video, now you have the transcript available for that. And also for search engine optimization, it works best. So what are the best practices for creating transcripts? Well, first you want to make sure that the transcripts are displayed in a way that is accessible. That's very important because otherwise they're really not going to help improve accessibility for people who need them. You also want to display them close to the video, so in a way that is hopefully able to be read while someone's watching the video. And you want to integrate both all the audio content and the important visual information. So that's really important so that it's going to be a full experience for someone who's only interacting with the transcripts. A sample workflow for transcription would be if captions exist, you might first download those into a text file as a starting point. Generally speaking, they aren't necessarily going to have everything you need. For example, they may not have the visual elements described, but it's a good starting place, and it can help save some time if it's already been captioned or if you're using an auto captioning tool that you then edit from. Next, you do want to evaluate the video for visual content in need of description. And then you would add descriptions to the caption document if required before uploading it as a transcript. So there are transcription tools out there. One I'm going to focus on today is Otter.ai. It uses artificial intelligence to generate automatic transcripts. It can actually do this in real time. And I want to talk a little bit about this process because it is very much like anyone who's worked on automatic captioning before. So it is going to generate a transcript, but you will still need to edit that transcript. And I think it's very important to know that most of the tools out there right now that are doing automatic captioning or transcriptions need to have a human eye to review and edit them to make sure that they actually are usable. Data suggests that if you are relying on captions or transcripts, you need them to be quite accurate in order to be able to have them be a replacement for hearing the audio content. Even just a few errors are going to start to make it incomprehensible pretty quickly. So you really do want to make sure that you're not just using an automated tool. You want to make sure that you're checking it for accuracy. So you might use an automated tool like this one or any of the other ones that generate automatic transcripts. And then the workflow would be to check it for errors and add any visual description elements that are needed. So now let's spend just a minute sort of reflecting. How might audio descriptions or transcripts improve access to content at your institution? So thank you for listening to this presentation. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you found it helpful and might consider how audio descriptions or transcripts may help improve access to items at your own institution. If you have any questions on this or would like to continue the discussion further or would like to share any of your reflections, please do visit the conference Slack. I will be available there to continue the conversation and answer questions if anyone is interested in that. Thank you again.